G'day, everyone, and welcome to another wonderful episode of the Joey Wiggle Experience. And today we have a very, very special guest with you. But firstly, I'd like to welcome my special co-host for today, Moses Yakub.
Hi,
G'day,
everyone.
Moses.
Great to be on the show, guys. Thanks for having me.
It's great to have you back, Moses. And boy, oh boy, the guest we have today is an icon, a legend in entertainment, particularly in children's entertainment. You may all famously know him from the 90s, also as Mr. Whiskers. So please welcome to the show the fabulous and one and only Franciscus Henri.
Hey!
Hello.
And here he comes. Hello.
Oh, there he is. Hello. It's great to have you here with us, Franciscus.
You're making me feel very ancient. 90s. Oh my God, that's before I was born.
Oh, it's a long time ago. Very long.
Yeah, very long.
Back when content was great, and it's even now it still is great.
Thank you. It's it's a lifetime, isn't it?
Mm.
Never thought I'd get to this stage.
Oh, and what a lifetime, Franciscus. You've had such a wonderful career in Australian entertainment, particularly, like I said, in children's entertainment, where you were famously known also as Mr. Whiskers. But let's go back from the very, very start, because you first made your I think it was your first major appearance on Australian television was as a musician on the talent show New Faces. So tell us what that was like.
Well, I can tell you, I went on New Faces in 1965, I think, and they didn't say anything. It used to be on on a Saturday morning. So I caught the train, walked down to Channel 9 Studios, went to New Faces, went on, sang a song, can't remember what I sang, and they said, "Why don't you comb your hair?" That's the irony of history, isn't it? And I thought, well, I'm better than that. So I got together with my sister, and I said, "Why don't we go on together?" And her name was Maria. And so we called ourselves Frank and Maria. This is all secret history. And none of this is recorded. And then we went on Saturday morning, and then on Monday night, and I said to her, I said, "What is while we're singing, we smile at each other." And there were a European couple called Nina and Frederick. And so we used to sing their songs, or others as well, but based ourselves on Nina and Frederick. And because we smiled at each other, I thought, "Oh, brother and sister, isn't that lovely?" So we performed on the Saturday morning, and on the Monday night we were on the major In Melbourne Tonight program. We hit the big time, like over the weekend, and that went on for about 4 or 5 years. We did a folk program called Boomeride. And we went on Bandstand, and we did In Melbourne Tonight. We did concerts here and there and there and there. And then she met someone and left home, and I was left on my own. And then I went on Showcase and built a career from there, really. In the meantime, I did an art degree to become a secondary art teacher. That was over 5 years. That was also a bad time. I was called up to go to Vietnam, but I was a conscientious objector. What children's entertainer wouldn't be? And
yes, exactly.
Yeah. So I got out of that by studying more and more and more and more, and then I taught for about 2.5 years, art and metalwork and the whole nightmare. And then I got a job as a costume and set designer in a theatre company at Monash University. And what happened then? It's a long story. That's right. Then I was working that company went broke, and then I went to another theatre company, which was Theatre in Education, And then I got an offer to tour with a man called Spike Milligan, who was
Oh yes, yeah.
a British comedian, and I toured Australia and New Zealand with him. And then at the end of that tour, the guy who used to run the Monash University Theatre Company, he'd got a job to become the director of the Victorian Arts Council. And he said, why don't you do a 6-week show for children? And I thought, yeah, how do you do that? Because I'd never really performed for children before. What I had done was I'd released an album, a single with Fable Records. I'd won a recording contract on New Faces, and I'd done a single in 1971, and they had enough money to let me do a children's album. And I think I'm not exaggerating, I think I'm the first person in Australia to actually record a children's album with full orchestra. You can still get it on Spotify, called Ding Dong, Who Rang the Bell? And so I thought, I know what I'll do. I'll just write a show like you would for adults. You know, I didn't think of the children's audience as a children's audience, and just using material from that album. And I toured. It was going to be a 6-week tour, which turned into a 3-year tour, because in those days, the Melbourne Herald newspaper had a centrefold. Sounds worse than it was, but I got a double spread in the paper in the 3rd week into the tour, and Don McKay, who was the director, rang up and said, "Look, we've got enough work here for 2 years. Everybody's rung up." So I slogged that out for about 3 years, and then we set up our own company, and I kept doing the same work, but doing all our own bookings. And then what happened? Oh yes, I was touring Queensland schools and Victoria and Tasmania. Went overseas to England for a while to do a television show with Spike Milligan. Came back to Australia, and I was offered a recording contract with ABC for kids at about the same time that the Wiggles were. And that was the beginning of the story. You know, just touring, working, singing, recording albums, more albums. It was all very hard work, actually. But looking back,
I agree.
And then what happened was the ABC started to frazzle a bit, and they said, because I was fairly old then, I was older than most. I was already into my 40s, and they said, "Oh, you're getting a bit old to be a children's entertainer." I mean, what does that mean?
Yeah, like what? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I came up with the idea of Mr. Whiskers, and and so then I got another 15 years out of it. It was yeah. Oh, the funniest thing was I'd done an album as Franciscus Henri, which was nursery rhymes, and then that sold, I don't know, 40,000 or something, and then we released it under exactly the same album under a new cover for Mr. Whiskers, and it sold the same amount again. I mean, you just change your name. You don't have to change your albums. Just change the cover. Nobody knows. They buy one and they say, that sounds just like the other one. Ah, well, you know, that's the music industry for you.
Yeah.
And it took me all over the world, actually. I did a season in Singapore a couple of times. I remember standing in front of the Singapore Symphony Orchestra with a baton thinking, how the hell did I get here? You know, you think back. I think
it's conducting out of nowhere.
Yeah, absolutely. I came from Holland when I was 9, you see, and I think back living I don't know if you know the field, Coronation Street. I lived sort of in the back streets of The Hague. Sort of abject poverty, really. And I thought, if somebody had said to me, you know, in about 30 years, you're going to be conducting the Singapore Symphony Orchestra, it would have seemed unlikely, but that's what happened, you know. And of course, we did some fantastic tours with the ABC. I toured in conjunction with the Wiggles a couple of times, and they got bigger than all of us and left us behind in the wake. But
yeah,
we plowed on.
I was gonna say, because then it would have been really hard, like 5 years later in the 90s, being like, oh no, now they're taking all the gigs. Where do I go?
Not really. It was in fact, Greg and Jeff. I was doing a show at somewhere, and they came over and said, "Hello, we're fans." This is before. This is just after I don't know. Just after they'd signed with the ABC, so they were obviously looking at what I was doing. But there was no rivalry. I mean, we're all just doing our own thing, you know. What they were doing was very different to what I was doing. I came more from the theatre background. My shows were scripted shows with a storyline where the songs illustrated the story, and they were doing more of a concert format, you know. It was quite different in some ways.
Well, that's what I think. I honestly, and I've said this a couple of times in the past, I feel like the entertainers, like for the ABC, if you compare them from the early 90s to now, not that any of the artists are bad now, like obviously they're all very good, but it seems very child-centered, while the ones back then looked like they came from a background of folk music, of musical theatre, and it just feels so natural the way they just talk to kids, and the adults can relate to it as well. I felt like, I think that's what I really like about the old entertainers back for the ABCs, because it's like they came from a background of, like, originally it wasn't gonna, like, they weren't made for kids, and then all of a sudden they appeal to kids and adults as well, and everyone enjoys themselves. And I think, like, I really miss that. I don't know why. Like, I really feel like we're not getting enough of that in today's society.
That's very astute of you. You are just saying exactly what I think. And that's not as a criticism, it's as an observation. Yeah. I never, in my whole career, I never said boys and girls. I never said, hello, boys and girls. I used to think I was playing to one child 800 times, you know, or whatever the size, or whatever the size of the audience. I'd say, hello, how are you? So that I used to think all these children are all looking at me. And I remember when I was a kid, when I started going to shows, I used to sit in the audience. Maybe I was slightly autistic, I don't know. But I used to sit and look at the stage and wonder what the hell was going on. And all the kids around me were all cheering. And I thought, do they know these people? So my approach was that I was speaking to an individual child, you know, every time. After a show, after one of the shows, a kid came up to me and said, how old are you? And I said, 7.5. And she walked away with a friend and said, see, I told you he was 7. And I thought, well, hey, I've achieved it. You know, they think I'm one of them. And there's that but like you say, there was that I worked to adults first, and when I was all my music was written on the same basis as you would write, you know, I'm in love with you. No, I'm not in love with you. I'm in love with ice cream, or I'm in, you know, but it's the same emotional response. And I never thought, not never. There were some songs that were obviously aimed directly at an age group, you know. But you before you sang I Like White Pajamas, I was always driven by my own emotions, you know, about the things that I like. If you had a new pair of shoes, it was very exciting. Or you got a new, I remember I got a yellow bow tie as a kid, and wow. And my uncle, who was a shoemaker, made me a pair of blue shoes, and I don't remember this, but I'd broken something. I had to go to hospital, and I was very upset. And the doctor said, what the hell's wrong with this kid? And my mother said, you took his shoes off. And once they put my blue shoes on, I don't touch my blue suede shoes.
I had a feeling it was going to go there. I had a feeling it was going to go there.
and that was the basis of how I approached it. I was really playing to an audience rather of equals, rather than me trying to be funny to a bunch of kids. I mean, obviously I was funny. They laughed a lot, but and I think now I often listen to. I sometimes listen to the ABC for Kids program, and I think there's quite a lot of music misses out on that. They're trying too hard to be funny to kids. And I actually think that kids don't like it. Kids don't like being patronized, They don't think they're kids, they think they're human beings,
Yeah. Well, it's like what was I going to say? One of the best examples of that is because I remember watching the documentary on the Wiggles that came out a few years ago, and when they were talking about the Wake Up Jeff gag, it was really interesting to think that, I think for a child, it's one of the most empowering things to have power over an adult. Like, I think, like you mentioned, it's that feeling of, I am just like you, I am better than you. It's like, I think children like that, and that's why it's another example of kids not wanting to be talked down to as well. And I think a lot of, I think, and I get it, it's depending on the age range, I mean, whether they're 2 or 3, but I think at the end of the day, I think it's really just about not wanting to not talking down to them and treating them like, like you said, equals.
Yeah, an adult ego state, I think it's called. I mean, children are intelligent beings. They're learning. They're in a learning stage, and letting them constantly know that they don't know everything is just a negative experience. The fact that this kid thought I was 7 years old meant to. Oh,
so funny! Oh my god!
Yeah, in fact, some time ago, an adult came to me and said, "I was very upset with you." I said, "Why?" She said, "Well, you said I asked you to come to lunch, and you never did." I said, "Well, you could see why." She said, "Yes, but I was very upset." I don't know. They just thought I was. I just one of them. Yeah.
Man, that was that was a lot to break down. That was thank you for the insight of your career there. I mean, it's very interesting to see that and like I've mentioned earlier, I think the best entertainers for the ABC were always the ones who weren't originally performing for kids. Like, even though it was the same with the Wiggles, they literally were part of the Cockroaches, and then they became.
Yes. Yeah.
It's like everything has a background. Everything has, like, they were here and now they're doing it for you. I think what I find interesting about your style in particular, Franciscus, is that it's very I really get folk musicians vibes, and it makes sense because you came from a time in history where it was really starting to take off, and I think that explains, the popularity as well. I think kids, because especially depending on the style of performing, I think wackiness was really at its height, particularly in the 70s, if you were watching Saturday morning cartoons and you wanted to see that in real life. And I think, I think that, would you, I don't know how to add on to that. I was going to say, would you agree with that, or?
Yeah, well, of course, I came from a time when I was there when the Beatles started. And so we worked through music suddenly changed. I said I sang with my sister with this group called Nina and Frederick. You can look them up, but they were really sort of late 50s, early 60s, Harry Belafonte, that era. And then the Beatles came, and then Donovan, who was a big influence, and then Dylan. And so this music very rapidly, within a very short time, was building on each other, and I don't know, we didn't want to write children's songs anymore. I mean, they're really old. Some really old children's songs are still very popular, like "Hey Dee Ho," but even they were written by people who were educators and who had an adult approach to music, not "Hey kids, aren't I cute?"
Yeah.
The minute you start saying to a kid, "Aren't I cute?" or "Aren't I funny?" There was some.
They should just be like, well, I think you're annoying.
Yeah. Well, actually, there was, and I don't know. I wouldn't name him even if I could remember his name. But this guy who got up on stage, and he was saying stupid stuff, and the kids were saying, "No, that's stupid." And I thought, I totally agree with you. If they started, if they started throwing food, I would have joined them.
I think that's another thing too. It's like kids love stupid. Like I think that's why a lot of people write songs that involve stupidity. Not that it's like directed at anyone in particular. It's more of like, oh, isn't this silly, or isn't this silly, or isn't this silly? It's because everyone wants to have a good time. We want to have a laugh, because the world can be a really messed up place, and if we can have something to get away from it and have something silly to laugh at, I think that's why I really enjoy those kind of performers and acts when they do those kind of and they do it. Yeah,
I worked on the basis that you can take kids anywhere as long as you do it logically. The minute you break a sense of logic, that's when disbelief kicks in. You can the fact that you can convert a cardboard box on stage into a boat, if you do it with genuine belief, and then says, now we're going to fly, I know I did a show with a chap called Paul Caro, and we used to ride a bicycle, but it was just a bicycle handle, and then we both step in time and sing, come cycling, let's try it, and you see, and then we crashed and we'd throw a bicycle wheel across the stage, and they totally believed it. They totally believed the fact that we were. Oh, and at one stage, one kid after the show said, "Oh, we'd be cycling like that, and then we'd go in opposite directions, and then we'd go around each other, and we'd meet, and then we'd cycle off again." And one kid said, "You can't do that on a bike." And I said, "Yes, you can. We did." And he went, "Fair enough." Wow. So you could take kids as long as you keep it logical. The minute you the minute you throw in something that doesn't fit, that you break the spell. It's about creating a spell of belief, and the music's got to be the same. The music's got to be honest. It's got to be honest music.
Yeah, no, I agree.
That's why in my albums, if you, I always used to think these things are going to be listened to in the car, right? And right. So it's got to be like a radio program. So I'd say, well, I'll do I'll start off with a Van Morrison type song, and then I'll go to Simon and Garfunkel. Then I'll do a kids song, and then so that the whole album was sort of like a radio program,
Yeah.
Didn't sell that many, but it was a good idea.
Yeah. Well, at the time, at least.
It seemed a good idea at the time. Yes.
Yeah. But anyway, so when you first joined the ABC, because at the time they were known for producing, I mean, and they still are, like they're known for producing quite literally the best entertainment for children in the country. What was that feeling like when they got in contact with you and asked if you wanted to record children's music with them?
Well, it was very interesting, that one, because I'd approached them and they'd done one album. This is before Di Manson created ABC for Kids. There was one man whose name I can't recall, and he made an album with Michael Jackson and his partner. And I somehow or other got through the Iron Curtain and spoke to him and said, "Look, why don't we do an album?" He said, "Oh, we've just made one." I said, "Yes." And he said, "Well, I wouldn't want to compete, So he was going to build an empire on making one album at a time. And so I gave up on that. And then Bob Hawke's wife, his first wife, whose name Hazel Hawke.
Hazel, yeah.
She was on the radio, and she was saying, "Oh, well, the ABC have created ABC for kids, and it's going to be a wonderful thing. And I thought, what the hell? So I sent them some recordings I'd made with other, one-off companies. By the time I went to the ABC, I'd made 3 albums, I think, with independent companies. And then I came home, and there was my wife with a bottle of champagne saying, the ABC just rang up and offered you a 5-year contract. Whoa!
Whoa.
Changed
5
our lives.
years. Wow.
Yeah, 5-year
Yeah.
contract.
On
And
top of that, sorry to jump in,
yeah,
Joey.
Okay.
Around the time when ABC for Kids was becoming a thing, I think 1991.
yeah,
There was the very first video that they released was basically video hits, and it included your song White Pajamas.
yeah.
The moments leading up to it, like, or even before it got released, what was it like, just seeing one of your music videos appearing on that videotape?
Oh, fantastic. And much later on, I'm in a shopping centre here in Melbourne, and there I am on this huge screen, dancing on walking on the Milky Way. And it's fantastic. I mean, it's unbelievable that can happen. We put a lot of time into the videos and a lot of fun, and you think it's even better looking back on it now, guys, because when you're actually doing it, you really are at the cutting edge. You're just working, and it's all rising hopes and shattered dreams. It's success.
Yeah.
By the time something is success, you've already had the failure. I don't mean that as a negative thing. It's just the career. It just because you're going after one job after another, after another, after another. In fact, I became very close friends with my principal from high school, and he said, "I don't know how you do it. How do you, keep that going?" And even when they said that the ABC, you're finished now, you're too old, and we came up with Mr. Whiskers, you won't. And I said, "Oh, right, yeah." There was a chap who was there for a very short time, the new director of ABC Music, and he said, "Oh, yeah, we'll give you another go." And they were very generous. They quite a number of artists were dropped, and they kept me on, and they were obviously making enough money with the Wiggles, and they kept me on. And like I said, I got another 15 years out of it. It was fantastic, But it is amazing. It's like I said before about, with standing in front of the orchestra, you think, how did this happen? And somebody says, when did your big break come? I don't know. It's no such thing. It really is luck, absolute luck. How did I get to mix?
I would have just said the ABC. I would have just said, yeah, when I got signed by the ABC, everything changed there.
Yeah. It was a whole different career. And then when I was eventually dropped as Mr. Whiskers, everything changed again. I had to go back. I went back on the old circuit, and I thought, no, they won't want me back, and they wanted me back until I realised my audience were all looking at their phones, and I thought, it's time to quit, guys.
Oh no!
Yeah,
That's terrible. That era.
Well, no, it's not terrible. It's just, I mean, I actually worked across 3 generations, and that's a hell of a long time. I remember standing in the foyer, and there was the grandmother and the mother and the little girl, and the grandmother said, Dorothy, I took Mummy to see this man when she was a little girl. And the kid thought, how old is this bloke? As old as Methuselah, And I'd realised I'd actually worked across, like the Wiggles have done, across generations. And then, but the culture changes, I did some workshops with some children at a kindergarten here in Melbourne last year or 18 months ago. And children have an enormous difficulty concentrating now, whether it's, I don't know, whether it's a screen time. We used to stand in front of a bunch of kids and they'd sit for an hour and be entertained. Now after we work on a concentration span of about 6 minutes, and then you twist it. you're lucky if you get 2 minutes now. You've got to work at the speed of a video.
Oh, that's the hardest thing, trying to get kids' attention, and they're on their phones now.
Yeah, and the whole audience are on their phones. Mothers, everybody's on their phones, and I thought, yeah, I was in at one of the last shows. I was in a theatre, and I had a line which look, I love you all, but not everybody can have a turn. Now, if you don't get a turn today, talk to the teacher, because most of them were sort of school groups that would come in. I said, talk to the teacher, or get mummy to write to the teacher saying that you were deprived of an educational opportunity. Everybody laughed. I said, oh, and that man in the front row, he's writing right now. And he was sitting in the front row with his feet on the edge of the stage. Can you believe it, right? Looking at his phone. He's looking at his phone.
Oh,
and I thought,
gross.
I thought, what am I doing here? I said, what are you actually doing? He said, oh, I'm looking at photos. I said, oh, what, am I beyond insult? And I thought, no, I'm now becoming an angry rock and roller, abusing my audience.
Oh no, Franciscus. Oh, that's terrible. I'm so sorry.
No, but then it works the other way too. I get letters of inspiration saying, oh, I wish I was a child again because of all these wonderful memories. I said, look, just hold the memories. Just take it with you. You don't have to go back to a childhood. I went to a concert. There was this baritone, and he was singing beautifully, and I thought, oh wow. And I was introduced to him, and he realized, he went, oh, Franciscus Henri. Oh. And he was very funny. He sort of became like a child, He went watery at the knees, and he said, I was in your show. I had a currant bun on my head. And he said, and when I was doing that, I knew I wanted to be a performer. And here's this guy, amazing voice, and he's blaming me. Well, how wonderful is that? Fantastic.
It's that's worth it. That's really part of I think that's just the journey. It's like when you get people who come up to you and say, you were the reason why I go into entertainment. I love the music. That means more than anything in the world. Like it means I can't even imagine how great that would feel.
Well, it's like I say, when you're actually working, you're at the cutting edge of working all the time, and you don't realize. You like to think you're having some influence, but when that feedback comes, I'll tell you what, it warms your heart, And even I got things, you get some really wonderful emails of people saying, you helped me through this and you helped me through that, and I was sick and all that, and you think, oh, really? That is fantastic.
It means a lot. Yeah, it really does.
And quite often too, if you actually, I'd be asked to go to visit a child in a hospital, and very often that's more for the parents than for the child. The child, as a child, these things come at them, but it's the parents who you're able to support in a very simple musical way by singing to their child. It's fabulous.
It's humanity at its very best.
It's a privilege, and in some ways I now do it for people my age, people who are ill, and I sit next to the bed and sing for them, and it's fabulous.
Yeah, well, because we previously had Philip Wiltshire on the show. He was one of the original members of the Wiggles, but he told us that that's what he does too. And I think it's something about giving back back to the community, which means so much to. And I think it's because it gives you. I think it has something to do with purpose. Like it gives you purpose. Like I'm doing something right for them, not just for them, but for myself. Like it makes me feel good at the end of the day as well. Everyone feels good. And I think that's honestly a great way to live life. It was by thinking of other people.
Yes, I also, it's different from, it's slightly different from that. When I also paint and draw and illustrate, and that's self-indulgent, and if people like it, that's great. With the music, it really is it's more like sharing, you know, that you get given this privileged moment, like if someone is, you know, in palliative care, and you can sit next to them, you can create a moment of joy for them. You're also taking, you know, you're giving and you're taking. It's a bonding.
Yeah, bonding, exactly. Yeah. It's very wonderful, Franciscus. And you mentioned before, and you also mentioned that you're a painter as well. So when did that start as well?
Well, that's how I started. I did like I said at the beginning of the show, I did half a year of art school, ran out of money, got a job in a car factory. Then I got a scholarship and did another 4 years at art school after that. So it's 4.5 years. So I've always been, well, I did all my cover art. In fact, I did some of the cover art for the Wiggles, I think.
Oh yeah, I think it was it was one of the earlier albums.
Better saw The Friendly Pirate from 1993.
That's that one, yeah.
Yeah, might have been.
One.
Yeah, at the ABC were terrific. They gave me the opportunity to do all that artwork, and of course, I saved myself a fortune by doing all my own cover work on my artwork. And
they should just get you back to the artist. Help promote the artist again. It's like, where's Franciscus? Get him back. Get him to do the artwork.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, and they let me, the ABC. I had wonderful opportunities of producing stuff, and when they poured a whole lot of money into 0 to 9 series, which they asked me to break that up and make thematic CDs. So I what's the word? There is a word. I can't think of it. Nurse. So I correlated all these tracks and chose them from all the different 0 to 9 albums, and one was called "Eat to the Beat," and one was called I don't know what it was called, but anyway, and did the artwork for those, and you know, so they got a second go out of all that stuff that they'd recorded. So it was fantastic. It was very exciting times, really.
And the 0 to 9 series. Yeah, I was going to say the 0 to 9 series. I don't think it's as appreciated today, because that was one of the very few times the ABC got a bunch of different of Australia's best singers, children's entertainers all together for a very special compilation of 9 albums.
Yeah,
directed at kids at certain ages, and I don't think that gets enough attention to how, if we could have something like that again. I don't know if they can, but if that could happen again,
yes, you really need someone. Di Manson was the brains behind it. Well, she was also the brains behind the whole concept of ABC for kids. It was, some opportunities were missed at the ABC because the concept of ABC for kids, it could have been bigger than it is. You know, it could have incorporated television and radio. It could have been a huge machine. In fact, when I went to my publishers, Warner Chappell in New York, they'd seen my videos and said, yeah, this is great. Is this on television? And I said, no, it's not. Well, you know, don't they have television programs, television stations? I said, yes. Yes, they do. Well, why don't they show the videos? And how do you explain that? You know, they thought.
The ABC are a different story. They're hard to crack.
Well, they thought the problem. I don't know who listens to your program, so I won't say what I thought. They thought that I was the problem. That somehow or other, the ABC had let me come to New York and talk to Warner Chappell. But they really, you know, this guy makes CDs and he makes videos, but they don't show them on television. So there's got to be a reason behind that. And I could see the walls coming down. Thank you very much. So we left. Oh, so it goes. You're just lucky. I mean, the Wiggles did well in the States for a while. They cracked in,
Yeah.
but it's a very,
they really cracked in. They really I think they were like just the most popular children's group in the world. I mean, they still are, but in the world at the time.
Yeah.
Madison Square Garden for 12 nights in a row.
In 2003, 12 sold-out shows at Madison Square Garden is like a really big thing, I think.
Yeah. And it's and with them too, you got to be at the right time, right place, the right time. Judy Collins wanted me to go upstate and write songs together. Well, they're sliding door moments. I had to decide: do I go upstate with Judy Collins and try and write songs, or do I go back to Melbourne where I had I had a number of theatre contracts I had to fulfil? Well, you don't break your contracts, You if I'd said,
of course not.
I'm big in the States now. You can stick all that. If when you come back, nobody wants to know you. It's,
yeah. But so unless you're the Wiggles, it's just It's what was I going to say? Oh yeah,
I don't know.
Speaking of which, so during the 90s as well, because again, this is when the ABC, I wouldn't say they peaked, because I think it's everyone has a different era, but they definitely peaked when it came to children's acts performing live all together on stage. Like you had the Wiggles in their early years, you had yourself, and you had the play school presenters like Monica and George and Mike Jackson, as you mentioned earlier, and all these different artists.
Yeah.
What Gillian Easter was what we had Gillian on the show with Terry Murray a few weeks ago as well.
All right,
so and just talking to them about, just talking about like what was it like, performing on stage with all of the acts, knowing that the whole country is going to listen. Was it more of excitement, like, oh, the whole country's going to know who we are now, or is?
Well, yeah, and it was working with really pro musos, and absolutely genuine. I mean, Gillian is an absolute pearl. She is a pearl, great muso. She sings to kids with the same sort of gusto as she does to adults. Her attitude doesn't change.
Yeah.
Fabulous.
And she's got a wonderful personality, very lovely personality.
Oh, your play school. She did a video audition for play school. I don't know why she didn't get it. I mean, just fantastic. Fabulous. Yeah, it
probably have to add Nida to that. Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting how there were quite a number of changes in management within the ABC, and I'm not quite sure that the people who were above, the organisation above ABC for Kids realised the potential of what they had in their hands.
For the global market.
Oh yes, yeah. We could have taken over the world for a while. The fact that that the Wiggles had to go there by themselves, and I had to go there by myself, and I did the Vancouver International Children's Festival. But appearing in these places is one thing, but actually establishing yourself is something else altogether. And the ABC could have done that. They never represented us. I don't know why that was. Whether they resented us, I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah,
I'm quietly bemused by it.
It can be confusing. Yeah, but it can also be. Yeah, it can be really confusing, some of the decisions they've made. I'm not going to criticize them over and over, but I think the one decision which I was really confused about, Franciscus, was more recently when they gave the rights for, because right now one of the biggest shows to come out of the ABC in the world since the Wiggles is Bluey, like without a doubt. And the fact that Bluey, and the fact that I don't know what the whole story was, but I think they gave um merch rights. I think it was the merchandise rights or the broadcasting rights to the BBC, and now the BBC are making all of the revenue. And you can imagine Bluey being like $1 billion
Yeah.
juggernaut, and it's like the money they could have used from that for the ABC, it easily could have funded the like industry in this country for generations. And it's like, I'm not saying I'm not. I mean, obviously, it was probably an idea that they were worried at first, like would it work or would it not work? But it's kind of like you mentioned earlier, they could have taken that risk, and the ABC artists could have been on a global stage, just like Bluey could have helped the ABC with a. It could have helped so much.
Yeah, well, again, I don't want.
And sorry, this is not like a criticism of the ABC.
I
I
don't.
think
I
it's
don't
just
want to
those
become a
particular
bitch.
decisions.
Yeah, I don't want to become a bitch session, but at one stage I had funding, private funding to create an animated series like Bluey of Mr. Whiskers. Right, it was digitally animated.
Oh, right.
And I was told by somebody who doesn't work there anymore. He said, "Why would we spend a couple of $1 million when we can get something for England for nothing, and then make our money out of whatever they were, merchandise, Teletubbies, or all that sort of stuff. So they get the program for nothing, and then they sell the merchandise in the ABC shops, which were the ABC shops were a big thing too at one stage. They were enormous." And
and I think they've closed down now.
And we were there. How do you compete with that? How do you? We said, well, here's the product. It's all ready to go. We've got the funding. Oh no, thank you. And you think, and it's like the guys in America said, well, why don't they show you videos on television? Well, I don't know. They spent money on making them, and then they don't show them. And I don't know whether the other acts had that same problem. Possibly, or the Wiggles broke through and have got their own telly show with the ABC. I don't know what their contractual arrangements are.
But I think, they had to because they even the Bluey thing as well. But the Wiggles, like, they were shunned by the ABC as well when they were trying to pilot this show, and they had to end up. They ended up funding it and producing it all by themselves.
Yeah.
So I think that's what the Wiggles were really good at. They trusted in themselves and they did it all on their own. They didn't listen to like higher ups who told them, "Oh, this is going to work for us." It'll be more for us, not for you. But like, let's be real. The moment you say to a band like the Wiggles, "Don't talk on camera, just sing," it's like that's not going to work at all.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And you say it to a bunch of three adults who are trained in early childhood and know how to talk to kids as well. So it's like really confusing stuff. But I agree.
But even in the whole theatre thing, even in the art world, when you present something, everybody wants to be significant. There are very few people who have the ability for someone to come to them with something and say, "What do you think of this?" Very few people have the ability to say, "That's fantastic, go for it." Most people want to put their contribution to it as well, which in a lot of cases is totally irrelevant, Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They they say, "Oh, why don't you do it another color?" Or why don't you? There was one guy at the ABC when I was developing Mr. Whiskers, who was like that. He said he made some positive things, but he basically said, "This is a good idea. Let's go for it." And he said, "Go with it." And when other people were saying, "Oh, I don't know, Mr. Whiskers," right? And in fact, the timing for Mr. Whiskers was great because Franciscus Henri had got a bit lost. I'm speaking of myself as a third person, but I was able to step back, and it wasn't going. And then Mr. Whiskers came in, bang, started all over again. You know, it was like a.
I was just about to ask you, how did you come up with the name for Mr. Whiskers when you decided to switch from being Franciscus Henri to Mr. Whiskers?
Well, because I was in a show quite a number of years before, and I had a there was a seesaw on the stage, on which was a basket which I'd converted into a boat. And I got a kid out of the audience and said, and on either end of the seesaw, you've got to imagine this, either end of the seesaw, there was kids who were making the seesaw go backwards and forwards, right? And I was singing. There was an electric fan behind me making the sail go. And this other little kid, I said, well, look, here are some binoculars. You tell me when you can see the island. We're going to an island, right? And singing away. And I'm singing, sailing, sailing. He said, oh, Whiskers Henri? I said, yes. He said, I can't see the island. I said, well, we'll see it when we get to the end of the show. Sailing. He said, Whiskers Henri? And that's where that Whiskers Henri. He thought my name was Whiskers Henri. And so when it came to thinking of a name, I thought, Mr. Whiskers. Of course, there was a Disney character called Whiskers too, a rabbit, but that didn't seem to be a problem. Spelled differently.
Yeah.
It's just, and then I came up with of course, I had to design the costume and the hats, and I thought the 3 hats. Where did that come from? Oh, that came from a story of a hat salesman who had all these hats on his head, and all the monkeys stole them. And I thought, oh, that's a good idea. 3 different coloured hats, and yeah. I don't know where this comes from, Joey. It's just in the middle of the night.
All right.
And we did all this at home. But my good wife Elizabeth, she made all the costumes for the shows, and so it was all in house. So if it didn't work, it's all our own fault. Let that be written.
Well, I'm glad it really worked out. And also, I think what I like about it too is that, because it's weird how the ABC said, "Oh, you're getting too old. You can't be." It's like, well, sorry, how old was Don Spencer and the other performers? Like, hello.
Oh, bloody ancient.
And age doesn't matter. Like, it's
exactly.
It's the creativity that matters. Like the creative. Like look how much you've really inspired us. Like especially now.
Yeah, and it was an irrelevance. I to this day I don't know what they meant, and the fact that I was able to jump that hurdle and become Mr. Whiskers. Obviously, Mr. Whiskers was all right being an old fart, I'd created the formula for old people.
You got me losing. I was like, oh, I didn't think I was gonna go this.
Yeah. I was sitting waiting. Once I'd left the ABC, I went back to doing some school and shows in kindergartens, which was absolutely a delight, because you've got a little audience, and it really was fantastic. And I was sitting there waiting to go on, and the kid walked past and said, "Are you Mr. Whiskers?" I said, "Yes." He said, "You're very old."
Oh.
Well, I was 60, so over 60. I mean, God, how old can you get,
Mm.
But you see some of the old, if you look at the old Hollywood guys, the Benny, not Benny Hill, Benny, the violin player, and Dean Martin, they went on for to good ages, Yeah, by the time you get to our age,
but they became popular because they were just really, But they became popular because it's like you felt a sense of nostalgia when you saw him and Frank Sinatra and Sammy Davis Jr. You felt a sense of, I remember this when I was a lot younger, and then
Yeah.
now we've got a new generation listening to our music as well. I think that's what's really good about you performing with kids today is like now they're getting introduced to the music that their parents and even grandparents listen to. It's like it's so rewarding. It really is.
Yeah, and the whole new because the whole technology's changed now. For an era there was very little access to my music unless you bought the CD. Now because of uh, Spotify and iTunes and everything, I'm with BMG, the publishers, and I'm still distributed through the ABC, but I'm I my records show that I've listened to all over the world, now because of Spotify. I
Yeah.
people in Norway and in Taiwan, and in Fiji, and you think, who are these people? Why are they listening to me? It's fantastic, absolutely.
So I think more will know who you are after this episode. Trust me.
It's just fantastic, amazing. Because I made my first recording in 1971 with Fable Records, who came and they broke through into the Australian market through some political thing. I'm not quite sure of that, but they set up, and we were working with a 4-track machine. Wow! And then we got an 8-track. We got 2 4-track machines. We had 8 tracks to record on. And I know this 45 single that I made called Mary and Me, I think, or something. That was the first stereo 45 released in Australia. How exciting was that? A stereo 45. And now I've got my own recording thing at home. You can have as many tracks as you want. And, you don't even need musicians. Yeah. You've got a keyboard. If you want a violin, I'll play you a violin, or it's just a whole, it's a world that's totally, from the world that I came from as a young muso, it's totally unimaginable. I mean, it's very exciting to, like the first kids album, to sit there with a full orchestra and record this stuff. It's very exciting, but it was also hellishly expensive. And now it's all done in people's homes. Although sometimes you can hear it because as a musician, you're limited and you think, yeah, well, I can play a saxophone on a keyboard. No, you can't, because a saxophone isn't a keyboard instrument. You can simulate it to a point, but then sometimes you can hear, no, what you've just recorded needs a producer. It needs somebody who can stand outside it and produce it. I was always happy to hand over to other people and say, if they said, no, that's no good, you take that out. I'd say, well, I'll let wiser people than myself make that decision. You've got to, in theatre too, or when I write scripts. I wrote a lot of scripts for radio, and if the director said, "Well, we'll take that out," I'd say, "Fair enough. He's the director."
Oh yeah.
Wow.
You can't be precious about those things, otherwise you become one of those screaming people. Who you could scream a lot, and they still take it out. That's what happens.
Yeah. I do have a question, and it's from a fan, by the way, who goes by the name Daniel Leet, and he is such a huge fan of you and Mr. Whiskers. So his question is, why didn't the blue balloon fly at the end of Bye Bye Balloon, but instead popped, and why did you say that's not fair at the end of the song? I don't know if you remember that.
I do.
You did? Oh.
I did. Blue balloon, pop. Oh, that's not fair. That's the answer. I didn't pop it. It popped by itself. And I got very upset because it popped. And I wish now, even now, I wish it didn't pop, but it did. Is that an answer? Yeah. Yes. I
I
was
think he's
hoping
going to
that
be stoked.
I
Yeah.
was hoping that the yellow balloon would pop and the song wouldn't go on so long, but it didn't. It's like the Bag of Lollies song, you know, that went on and on and on until I'd run out of lollies and all I was left with was the bag. It's a cruel.
Can I just say that is really underrated, that song. I reckon it would do well today because it's really funny. And just when the two parents come in the frame and it's like, show your lollies, son.
I didn't know.
It's like, it would be so funny today still.
I know that, and I did a stint with a bunch of kids at a school, and they that was their favourite song, especially that na 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 na. It is all for me. They'd sung that with such venom. And on one of my albums, there's another song called "Who Will Clean It Up." There's junk all around the house. Who will clean it up? Not me. And I was in a park doing an outdoor show, and we're all singing, "Who will clean it up? Not me. Who will clean it up? Not me." Right. If I had to stop them, we were gonna turn over. We're all going to run to the car park and turn over cars, and then just straight after me, this environmental group came on, and I'm an environmentalist, but the irony of me singing, "We're not going to clean it up," and then these nice people came on saying, "Let's clean up the world." Let's kill Franciscus Henri, let's clean the world. So anyway, that is the answer for the blue balloon. There was going to be another coloured balloon after that, but when the blue balloon broke, the producer said, "That's enough. We've had enough balloons now. Thank you, Franciscus. Sit down."
It's like, please, no more.
No more. Please, no more balloons. No more.
Oh.
I mean, how many verses? How many verses has this song got? Blue balloon, red balloon, yellow balloon, red balloon, red balloon, red balloon, red balloon. All right. What's the next song? Right. Another question?
I was about to actually, my question is actually I might even go into a bit of a detail because a lot of your songs are I mean, a lot of people, particularly in the ABC for kids communities that Moses and myself are in, really love the retro ABC. We love the retro songs, particularly the ones you did for the ABCs.
Yeah.
So I'd like to ask a bit of inspiration of how did you come up with certain songs? Like for the first one, White Pajamas, the most iconic by far.
I was sitting in my painting studio having to make this album, and I really don't know where these songs came from. I like white pajamas with purple polka dots. What the hell? You know, why? And who is this? And then yellow socks with holes where your toes stick through. And somebody wrote to me saying, my mother got really mad at me because I cut holes in all my socks. I don't know. Joey, it sounds a bit contrived, but sometimes it's just, you know, I'm doing an album and then you have to work at writing the songs, or a line comes up. There's that song.
Yeah.
I can't sit still. There's music playing. Can you hear it too? Do you know what I'm saying? My daughter, who is a very good singer. You can find her on YouTube. She was walking through the kitchen one day saying, "I can't sit still. There's music playing." Oh, great line, you know, great line, and then you build on that. and walking on the Milky Way.
I was just about to add on to that, Franciscus.
Yes.
I was just about to add on to that. When she was in the kitchen, was the grandma in there too? Was that the next song? Dancing in the kitchen with grandma?
No, that came out of me playing in a nightclub with a bunch of guys, and some guy had a song about grandma banging on the pipes or something. That was a metaphor for something, I'm not sure. And I thought, oh yeah, dancing in the kitchen with grandma. And I remember not being able to finish the song, and I was standing on the corner of a street in Collingwood in Melbourne, writing this song, in my head saying, we should be washing dishes. Oh yeah, should be washing, but I've never done. I went home and I'd written a song while walking down the street. It's when it happens, it's absolutely miraculous, where you come from. I haven't written a song now for maybe 2 or 3 years. And it doesn't worry me because I don't really need to write a song, but I can feel stuff coming on. I'm doing so much. I'm illustrating, and I'm on YouTube. I've done some adult stuff with some video makers, and I'm working with another guy. We're doing some animated stuff. I got into a little bit of trouble on YouTube because I did a song. I toured with a chap called Sydney Carter, and he was an English busker, and he wrote a song, "The Devil Wore a Crucifix, the Christians They Are Right." It was all about irony,
Oh yeah, of course they would. Yeah, one of those.
And they YouTube, and it had pictures of the riot, the race riot up in Sydney, and people objected to that. When in fact it was just illustrating the song. That all this racism and all this stuff. It's all created from a bad part of the brain. Anyway, they took it off. They said has pictures of violence. Well, it wasn't really violent. Well, it was violent, but it was real. It wasn't anything that I've made up. It wasn't like some shock horror.
Because
So
it's like, because if it was just pictures of them protesting, then it's not really that violent if it's just them protesting. Yeah,
and but we're living in the days of Oliver Cromwell, where you have to be politically correct about everything, otherwise people object.
Oh
yeah.
So it's the whole division too. It's terrible.
Yeah, someone said to me recently that my father should have gone back to where he came from.
Wow.
What?
Yeah, I know. And then said, well, that's my opinion. And I think, and I'm entitled to my opinion. And I think you can have an opinion, but you may not actually be entitled to that particular opinion. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah.
You're not wrong.
We're getting heavy now. Yeah,
right. I wish it was going to get better. I just don't know if it will, Francis, because I wish I had a more positive answer to that.
No, the human spirit is very resilient,
Yeah.
If you look through history, there's always periods of time when the psychopaths boil to the surface, and they run it for a while, and then they disappear, and then you get another wave of like you guys are in a sort of a more difficult time. I mean, people my generation say, "Wow, we had golden days." I when I left, when I ran out of money at art school, I walked up the road to a Heinz factory and said, "I'm looking for a job," and they said, "Oh, a bit of an interview, blah blah blah. We'll let you know." And I thought, "Oh, this isn't good enough." So I went to the car factory next door in this International Harvesters, and I said, "I'm looking for a job," and they said, "Can you start on Monday?" And so I went back home, and the phone rang, and the guy from Heinz rang and said, "Congratulations, you've got the job." And I said, "I've already got one." It sounds bizarre, but they were the days. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Yeah.
We're in a period now where we just can't even afford a home. See, it's just
inflation.
I
Just
know.
laziness. I feel like no, it's some bit of it is laziness. The other bit is just the inflation's gone up, so it's really just it
Yes,
sucks at the moment.
it's very, very, very hard. Even starting and I would think the the Wiggles themselves would say that we started at a very good time. To start now a musical career, I don't know where you'd even begin. You
Mhm.
know, uh, because
Yeah, and it
live
wouldn't be the same either, and that's the problem, friend. Yeah, it
no
wouldn't be the
because
same because it's like as I mentioned earlier, it, there's such a clear difference between the entertainers back then, like 30 years ago, to the entertainers now. The entertainers then, like I mentioned, they were on stage, and you can tell that they weren't just made exclusively for kids, and they didn't start as children's entertainers either.
well even if they did, you were working on stage. You learned a stage craft, and
Mm,
stagecraft is different to television craft. The two are not diametrically opposed, but the dynamic of working live to an audience and working to a camera is very, very different. In fact, I'll say this of myself, that the Mr. Whiskers video was recorded in front of a live audience, and that was my choice, when in fact I should have done it without an audience, and
mm,
it would have been more dynamic because it would have been straight at the camera, not that strange,
yeah.
strange feeling that you're working to someone who's behind the camera. Very subtle. Uh,
Yeah.
you
I would
just
think that most
ignore
people
that.
do live videos typically for the reason you mentioned. I think it's sometimes it's rushed, or they need to, or they don't have enough time, or sometimes they just want to, like, not overwork themselves too much, and they'll always do
Yeah,
like a live concert
yeah.
video. But I mean, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I don't know. It depends on the experience too.
Yeah, well, I haven't watched my own videos for quite a while, but I did watch. Yeah, I did watch one once, but actually, it's a very interesting experience because I put on. Funny that you say. I put on white pajamas a couple of weeks ago, and I listened to it, and I thought, "Wow, hey, that's not bad." In fact, some of it's really good. But while you're actually working, I work with some fantastic musos, Peter Sullivan particularly, who wrote Up There Gazelle, um, uh, and
Yeah.
and it's not until when you actually step away from it and look back and you think, hey, that's actually better than I thought. I'm sure it's the same
Mm.
with people in actors in the movies. They'll watch a movie that they made 30 years ago and I think, hey, actually, wow, because the hours in the studio and the editing and all that's fallen away, and all you've got, what's left is the end product. But when you're actually working on it, you're doing your editing, you're doing your this, you're doing your that, and then
Yeah.
you're almost glad it's over. That's just me. Other people think I'm mad.
But
But does
it's
it make you? But does it make you feel a sense of um? I was gonna say, does it make you feel proud knowing that you're still being acknowledged and still being listened to, as particularly in this day and age when there's like so much different outlets of entertainment, and people still come back to the what like the artists we grew up with, particularly you, Franciscus. How
Yeah.
does that make you feel knowing that people still
Oh,
remember and still appreciate your art and talent, and your just the
that's
absolute nostalgia along with it?
yeah. Proud is not really the word. I feel. Uh, how do I feel? I feel privileged, and
Mm,
it's even amazing to me that I still, that I realize that there are parents out there who grew up with my music who are now introducing their children to that music, and you think, isn't that fantastic? Yeah, it's a real privilege. It's yeah, that's what it is. It's a privilege, and yeah, I don't get proud. It's not that proud as proud. I just think, wow, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I think privilege is a better way. Yeah, I was like proud as in look at me.
Yeah, no, just I think, wow.
I think privilege is
really?
a good way to put it.
Yeah, I just wonder if it's going to stop one day. You see, I was talking to one of the Hooly Doolies once who were on concert, and I said, do you realise this is all going to stop one day? It'll just stop, and it'll be over. And he looked at me with a look of horror on his face. Of reality, it's stopped.
Oh no!
Because you don't. There's a great someone who said that every artist's curtain call. Are you with me? Every actor's curtain call is a rehearsal for the inevitable. Eventually there is the last curtain call, and you can't resent it. You just have to say, that's it. It's the end of the book, or and you can either treat that as a disappointment or as a sense of fulfillment. And I think, like, going back to what you said before, the fact that people are still listening and still appreciating is a sense of fulfillment. I mean, how fabulous! There are other people that people don't listen to anymore. Not listening to that anymore. What a lot of rubbish.
I've been there before. I know what that's like. So yeah.
I think the answer should be, if you were talking to, I think. So is that what you really said? One day it's going to end, and they were just like, which Hooly Dooly was it, by the way? Just curious.
Antoine, I think we were having
Antoine, yeah.
Yeah, we were having a serious discussion and about how wonderful it all was, and I threw in the dead cat, saying it's all gonna finish one day.
Franciscus Henri doing something very foreshadowing.
Should have, you know what you should have said? It should have been like, look, Antoine, unless you're the Wiggles, or the Wiggles, inevitably this is all going to come to an end. Because it feels like the Wiggles are the only ones who can really last. I don't even know how long. I reckon they're going to last forever. I mean, maybe. I hope I'm not
from a band
too far ahead.
A bit like, you mean a bit like the Seekers? There's going to be the Wiggles and then the new Wiggles.
Yeah.
And then the new Wiggles. It'll go on forever.
It'll keep going on, and the lineup will keep changing. And I think it's because they've created a style that is so just like, their songs are so catchy, unbelievably catchy.
Yeah,
and they have their own style. They have multiple styles as well, apart from just like one type of style. Like, they move from one to another. Like, they do jazz, they do country, folk.
Yeah.
Like,
I sort of
out there,
I sort of hinted at that in my album, so that you create the styles. Back in the 50s, there were children's entertainers, and you put the album on, and it's just the one. There was just the one thing went on and on and on and on. I'm not going to say, but I actually threw a cassette out of the car once. The kids said, "Oh, Daddy dropped it out of the window." "No, you didn't. You threw it out." I said, "It never changes key." This person only singing one key. What's wrong with them? It's just... Actually, Burl Ives. There was a guy called Burl Ives. He was in the 50s.
Oh yeah, he's the Frosty the Snowman.
Yeah,
right?
And a little bit of tear let me down. And they said to him, "What's the secret to your success?" He said, "Always change key."
Very good advice. Man, it's just so. after Mr. Whiskers, and because you said that went for about another 15 years. So when did it come to an end at the ABC?
When they rang me up and said it's come to an end.
Oh no, that talk. It's come to an end.
Yes, they said no, we're not renewing your contract.
Oh.
I don't know.
We're so sorry to hear
It's
that.
a bit like that blue balloon, you know.
Yes.
Well, that's not fair.
I had a feeling that was going to lead to that.
Yes. You always got to have a punchline, you know.
Yeah. That's a great way to look at it. Yeah.
Yeah. And I went back and I thought, I wonder if I just went back to my old to the circuit of that I've been before, and I ended up flying into up Cape York, and I worked on an Aboriginal community and did music with the kids there. It was a whole brand new different career, which wasn't media driven. You know, when you're recording and television, all this, it's media driven, and I stepped out of that, which meant I'm just what did John Lennon say? I'm just watching the wheels go round and around. It was a bit like that, and I was free to break out of that and do stuff without the obligation of being answerable to the record company and to all that. You know, nobody can actually see you doing it, but you can do a hell of a lot without all that. You know. Working on the Aboriginal community with the kids was absolutely wonderful. It was also heartbreaking. It was really but again, we made some people very happy, particularly children.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important. Like making children happy. I think you get like a real certain amount of satisfaction in you, and I think that's something that I'd encourage anyone to do today. And I think you, like Joey said, you really are a great example. So
yeah, well, thank you. I always in my early many years ago, before my first year of teaching was at a high school, which was very challenging place. It looked more like a prison than a high school. There was nothing on the walls, and I got all these rock and roll posters from people that I knew in the industry and put them all up around the school, you know. And I got the nickname Johnny Appleseed. Do you know?
Rings a bell, yeah.
Yeah, the American folklore character who
planted
apple trees everywhere, and I thought it was fantastic, and so was Johnny Appleseed. And then one day, a whole lot of them disappeared, and I said, "What the hell? You know, what's going on here?" And the other teacher said, "You'll never get them back." And I went up in assembly. I said, this is not right, guys. No,
that's not fair."
Yeah,
that's where it's
that's not fair. Anyway, I said, it's not good enough. I said, I don't care who took them, put them back, you know. Blah, 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 bloody fascist. And and they all went back.
Oh my
God. They all came back. I don't know if some had been under someone's bed or crumbled or something, but they all tacked them back up again. They all had to think about it, saying, "Don't steal Miss Johnny Appleseed's apples." And that was my musical approach. That whatever I was doing, I was hoping I was leaving some trace of happiness. And talking to you now, I think after all these years talking to you now, I obviously have. You know what I mean? I mean that humbly. That in fact, I think I have. I get feedback via email from random people saying, "Oh, I remember," you know, and you think, "Oh, wow, fantastic."
I think that's honestly, and when you really look back on that stuff, because I know some people will look back and be like, "Oh, it was all right, but you know, it wasn't that amazing." But honestly, for you, I think it's safe to say that you look back on your memories as a musician at the ABC with just the fondest memory. What would you say is your what would be the absolute highlight of your life or career?
Absolute highlight.
Like what would you say is the best moment that you can recall?
I think being offered the recording contract in the beginning, thinking, wow, this is a stage in my life. Well, when I was offered a job in earlier on, I was teaching. I was offered a job with a theatre company to become a set designer and costume designer. I said to my wife, I said, let's do this. It was going to be a drop in pay, can you believe? But this is an offer I'll never get again. Seize the moment, and we did. And on that, that became the beginning of the career that I had. And then to actually be offered the 5-year contract with the ABC was just absolutely fabulous. It was just, you all of a sudden you see a whole lot of opportunities that offers. Well, here I am with hair. There is some irony in that. Look.
Oh, brilliant.
The beard is still there. Yeah. Actually, many years ago, my kids said, we were on holiday. They said, Dad, can you shave off your beard? And I said, well, I will during the holidays. I said, I can't appear without a beard. So I shaved my beard off. And on the second day, I said, well, are you guys going to talk to me? And I said, no, you look really strange.
Oh.
So I had to grow it back again so my children would talk to me.
Oh.
I have two children.
Oh, yeah.
A son and a daughter. The daughter lives in Japan, where she has she records has recorded music for film and anime, written and recorded.
Oh, wow.
And a son who's in hospitality and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
Her name is Sasha, Sasja, Antheunis, Antheunis. And if you Google that, you'll see what she was up to.
And she's in Japan. So how long has she lived in Japan for?
Oh, over 20 years.
Oh, wow.
They're coming, the family she's married to a Japanese man and has 2 boys, and they're coming back to Australia to do their secondary education on the Sunshine Coast. So watch out, Sunshine Coast. The Japanese are coming.
That's a good one. I like that.
That's so funny.
That'll make them nervous.
This guy's a man of comedy, I tell you.
Oh, you should.
He's a natural comedian.
The comedy, that should have been the alternative universe lifestyle. Just go into comedy. That's so funny. Oh, so anyway.
I thought I was.
Oh, it's never too late, Franciscus. Never too late.
It's never too late. No.
Yeah. But looking back now, so in the years since, so what have you been up to in the years since leaving the ABC?
I don't know. Well,
oh my God! So it just ended. Where am I?
Living on my earnings. Well, I kept theatre up. I kept live theatre up, and like I said, went up to Queensland. Did some toured in. Did a tour in Singapore. It's hard to. Went to Vancouver. That was while I was still at the ABC. Went to London to do a memorial concert for a fellow artist, and Yeah, that sounds like a lot, doesn't it? Painting and drawing and well, on YouTube I've been spent some time doing music, adult music, and videoing that, and oh, there goes my wife. There goes, that's no lady, that's my wife. I wondered all my life. Yes. Oh well, look, I'll tell you what. Is it nearly time to go? I'll do you a funny poem about a person's life. All right.
No worries. Well, we're nearly about to wrap up, but yeah, you do that.
Well, you can. I will do that, and then you can wrap up. What are you going to wrap? No, this is called "Run the Film Backwards." All right.
Run the film.
Run the film backwards.
Run the film backwards.
Okay.
Okay.
When I was 87, they took me from my coffin. They found a flannel nightshirt for me to travel off in. All innocent and toothless, I used to lie in bed, still trailing clouds of glory from the time when I was dead. The cruel age of 65 put paid to my enjoyment. I had to get myself a hat and go to my employment. Then, at the age of 60, I found I had a wife. Now that explains the children I'd wondered all my life. I kept on growing younger and randier and stronger till at the age of 21, I had a wife no longer. With mini-skirted milkmaids, I frolicked through the clover. The cuckoo kept on calling me until my teens were over. Then algebra and cricket and sausages of cooking and puffing on a cigarette when teacher wasn't looking. The trees are getting taller. The streets are getting wider. My mother is the world to me, and soon I'll be inside her. And now it is so early that I cannot see before the world or after. Wherever can I be? Gentlemen, that's the story of a life.
That's wonderful. I like that. I like it a lot.
Franciscus, if that does not get you a new generation of fans, particularly those who watch the podcast, I don't know what will. That was very, very, very good.
Thank you, and it serves them right.
Oh, that brilliant. Franciscus, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us. It was an absolute privilege. Just an absolute privilege.
Well, thank you. Thank you for remembering me.
Thank you for coming into our childhoods.
Again.
Bless you guys.
Thank you. And thank you to everyone. And thank you to everyone who has watched this episode today. Be sure to subscribe and to follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. And thank you, Moses, for gladly joining us for today's chat with the legendary Francis.
And keep those postcards. Keep the postcards coming.
Will do.
Perfect. Thanks for watching, everyone.
See you guys. Bye.
See you, Franciscus.
Bye-bye.